The Oklahoma Sooners got another big-time commitment yesterday. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it. We talked about Bo Jandro, but today we got to sit down, talk about Daniel Norman, and also I think we got to talk about some other commits that you could see coming down the line for Oklahoma. But also, coming out of the Champion Barbecue weekend, it really felt like there was a lot of momentum there. And then all of a sudden, it feels like some of those guys are trending away. So we're going to talk about all of it. Before we do, as always, I want to hear from y'all. So join the discussion. Jump in the comments below and let me know what your guys' thoughts are about the Sooners 2026 recruiting cycle. Or, hey, you know what? You might see my Thunder shirt here and you might want to talk Thunder basketball. You can do that in the comments or actually jump over to my other podcast, the Thunder Up podcast, where we're talking all things Thunder basketball. And we got a chance to go to the parade today, so it was a lot of fun. But let's go ahead and let's dive into Sooner recruiting, because that's what you're here to do. You're not here to talk about Thunder. Daniel Norman, the 6'4", 225-pound edge rusher out of St. Thomas, and I believe it's pronounced Aquinas High School in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Interestingly enough, the same high school that Nick Bonitto came from. And if you paid attention this week, and somebody pointed this out on Twitter, thought it was a really good catch, he also was wearing Nick Bonitto's jersey number. So maybe there is a little bit of want and desire to model your game and be another Nick Bonitto for Oklahoma, which, as an Oklahoma fan, if that's the case, you'll take another Nick Bonitto because that guy was great here. But one of the things that I really noticed, something that pops off for me for Daniel Norman, one, Oklahoma actually wins a pretty big profile recruitment. This is one where Oklahoma fans probably don't realize, like, you were in a good battle with Miami here. You had Missouri going after him. You saw UCLA in the mix. So he had other Power 4 offers, and Miami being an in-state school, those are always really good wins when you can beat out the in-state school for a specific kid. So Daniel Norman picks the Oklahoma Sooners over Miami. What is Oklahoma getting Daniel Norman, right? Production-wise, what has he done at the high school ranks? 31 total tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 8 QB hurries, and 7 sacks in his junior year for Florida's 5A state champs team. So obviously a guy that's produced at a high level, took visits to UCLA, Colorado, Miami, was supposed to be at USF, but is now at Oklahoma. The Sooners only offered him on June 12th. So this was a pretty quick turnaround. Obviously, though, Miguel Chavis and the staff here held a pretty decent relationship with Daniel Norman, and they obviously wanted to get this guy committed in the class. Now, one of the things that really sticks out to me about Daniel Norman is his frame. So 6'4", I think his weight's probably a little off. These sites don't really look like they have the correct weight. I'd be surprised if he's 225. But Daniel Norman has a really good frame, a guy that has really good length and really good size, which is something that Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates can actually work with on this defensive line. So Daniel Norman, I think, has a really bright future in Oklahoma. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, right, you're excited to get guys like this on campus. These are the guys that Jim Nagy is going to go out there and evaluate and continue to bring and maybe have late senior season blossoms. Now, on the Jim Nagy topic, right, Oklahoma is offering a ton of guys, and you see guys show up for official visits. And I think the college football world is watching what Jim Nagy is doing, because all of a sudden, recruitments that Oklahoma should not be struggling in to go out there and get guys committed, all of a sudden they're fighting like hell, because it seems like other schools are really paying attention to what Jim Nagy is doing on the recruiting trail. And I think the first one you got to start out with is Dallas Dickerson, who actually committed to Kentucky, but it felt like there for a couple days was going to commit to Oklahoma. It felt like Oklahoma had some momentum. And I think this is going to be a trend. I think you're going to see a lot of schools that have been recruiting a guy longer than Oklahoma, or an in-state school, offer a kid after Oklahoma started pursuing or has been pushing even harder, because they respect Jim Nagy's evaluations, which means, as an Oklahoma fan, just because the guy is 3-star, maybe not ranked in the recruiting rankings, that should probably not give you any concern, knowing that Jim Nagy is doing a lot of these evaluations, and college football coaches and other GMs across the league and the country respect Jim Nagy at that level. So just keep that in mind. So obviously, Dallas Dickerson, picks Kentucky. And you're kind of asking yourself, okay, well, that was one of the targets we felt pretty good about at wide receiver. What's going to happen next for Oklahoma? Like, who can they pivot to? Obviously, you've got Daniel Odom currently committed. I think he's going to stay committed. He was recruiting with Bo Bentley. There's been a lot of talk that, he wants to play with Bo Bentley now. So it sounds like Daniel Odom will stay committed. That's an elite wide receiver that a lot of teams would really love to have. Craig Dandridge is a prospect that's actually going to announce here on June 25th, which if you're watching this on Tuesday is going to be Wednesday, so it's just tomorrow. He's out of Alpharetta, Georgia. The consensus has been Georgia's going to be the pick. Oklahoma made a lot of strides in that Champion Barbecue visit, which is kind of the theme that we got going on here. Oklahoma has positioned themselves pretty well to try to make a run at Candridge's recruitment. Now, this past season, 58 receptions, almost 1,500 yards, 14 total touchdowns. This guy would be a phenomenal addition to this wide receiver room. You understand why Emmett Jones and Jim Nagy want him. Just when you look at the perception of what he's done on the field, he's the number 237th ranked player in the 247 composites. Probably will rise up in his senior season. So I'm not saying it's a done deal, but definitely a guy that you would want to keep on your radar for tomorrow when he goes to make his commitment. Oklahoma could be a quiet pick there. I also look at Jaden Pettit, the 6'4", 195-pound wide receiver out of Naples, Florida, currently the 209th ranked player in the 247 composite rankings. I actually think he's one of the best wide receiver prospects in the country. You've got North Carolina, you've got Wisconsin, you've got Missouri. Auburn at one point was in this sucker. Everybody wants this kid. I'm telling you right now, if Oklahoma can land Jaden Pettit, which I know Bo Bentley wants him too, they're out there recruiting Jaden Pettit really hard. Jaden Pettit is a phenomenal prospect. He's got a really big frame. He's produced at a high level and varsity since his freshman year. He was on the Under Armour's Future 50 camp summer before his junior season. He's really able to use his leverage to be able to go out there and get those balls. Great size, great athleticism, multi-sport athlete, plays basketball. This is a guy, I think this is a can't miss prospect if Oklahoma's able to land him. Now, he did take an official visit to Florida, did take an official visit to Miami. Those are two in-state schools. Obviously, North Carolina is doing everything they can to land elite prospects. So just keep your eyes open there. But kind of shifting back to the trenches, looking at defensive end. So you land a guy like Daniel Norman. Who else could Oklahoma be looking at? Obviously, Jake Krull is still on the board. I think that recruitment is expected to go into the season. But Oklahoma is also looking at DeAnthony Lafayette, the 6'1", 230-pound defensive end out of Orlando, Florida. If you're Oklahoma, you're battling LSU and Miami here. So big-time battle. He loves Oklahoma. 3-star defensive end, but got a total of 26 total offers. I would expect right now Oklahoma is, I don't know if they're the leader, but man, they're really close. I think, this one is another one that probably could go in Oklahoma's favor. He finished his junior season with 73 tackles, 40 QB hurries, and 17 and a half sacks in just 11 games, according to Max Preps. So big time prospect. We'll see if Oklahoma can land him. If they can land DeAnthony, I think they'll also take Jake Krull, and they'll just take a bigger defensive end class this cycle and maybe not take another big one next cycle or the year after. Now, defensive line. This is an intriguing position because, you're kind of seeing Taj Overton trend to Oklahoma State. You're seeing Valadinsone trend with Georgia. So Oklahoma fans are now asking themselves, what's going on with the defensive line group? Who can we potentially go out there and grab? Teron Richardson is a great prospect out of Hopewell, Virginia. 6'2.5", 295 pounds. Really loves Oklahoma. 784th ranked player in the 247 composite rankings. Another 3-star. But this was a phenomenal evaluation by Todd Bates. Went to Syracuse on May 30th. Oklahoma on June 6th. Penn State on June 13th and Virginia Tech on June 20th. So the two schools you're looking at for Oklahoma to really be able to go out there and compete with, you're looking at Penn State, Virginia Tech, with Syracuse and South Carolina all being dark horses. I think Oklahoma probably leads in that recruitment for Teron Richardson. So that's going to be a potential prospect that you could keep your eyes on. Joseph Terry is a guy that has not been talked about enough, but is a guy that we probably should start talking about because Oklahoma is going to maybe have to start pivoting some other defensive linemen on their board. There is one that is coming, a 5-star prospect. Can't tell you who it is, though. I really want to, but I will tell you about it when everything happens, when everything lines up. You'll know when we make that announcement. Joseph Terry, the 6'4", 315-pound defensive lineman out of San Juan Capistrano, California, only right now the 1,563rd player in the country. I really don't think this guy, I think he's too low. I think he needs to be a lot higher than this. At 6'4", 315, this is a guy that could come in and play nose tackle for you. Florida State is all over this guy. But I'm telling you right now, if Oklahoma extended an opportunity for him to come on campus for an official visit, I believe he would probably shut it down on that official visit. Joseph Terry is a phenomenal prospect. And if there are any OU staffers that watch this video, please let Joseph Terry visit Oklahoma and take his commitment, because he will be on this team and he will ball out for you. But that's kind of what we got going on for now. So jump in the comments below, join the discussion. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and you guys hit that subscribe button.